right now on Chronicle in High Definition.
A spring sailing trip to Bermuda, caught up in a surprise storm. The captain and first mate tumble into the sea.
The boat was going away and we were not going to get back on it.
3 less experienced sailors are left to pilot the boat alone.
They're doing everything in their power to keep that sailboat afloat.
The Coast Guard is coming to the rescue, but will there be enough fuel?
15 minutes, 14 minutes.
A true life tale. Overboard, next on Chronicle. Good evening. Our story begins in May of 2005. 2 experienced sailors with 3 less experienced crew set out for Bermuda. The weather report mentioned a storm, but it was supposed to pass them by. Unfortunately, the forecast was wrong.
I kept yelling and yelling and yelling, and nothing happened. I talked to the ocean at that point. I said to the ocean, I said, leave us alone. Just please leave us alone.
For Loch Reedy, it was a low point, far removed from the calm winds and seas that ushered him out of Long Island Sound 4 days before on the sailing vessel Almazan. Loch was first mate to his good friend and captain Tom Tighe, who had made the passage to Bermuda close to 50 times. Also on board, Ron Bird, Kathy Gilchrist, and Chris Farrer, all friends and sailors. But a storm was brewing.
We were under the impression from the weather reports that we had heard from the day before that this was going to be a coastal storm and really not much of a bother for us. But the storm didn't do what it was supposed to do.
Instead of hugging the coast, the storm stayed offshore, feeding off the warm waters of the Gulf Stream, directly in the Almazan's path.
They got an inkling when a couple waves hit the boat with such power that the canvas and plastic curtains that seal you in the cockpit were shredded.
Author Mike Tougias chronicled the Almazan story in the book Overboard.
Tom said that's never happened, and he'd been in many storms. And then it was close to midnight that the first of 2 disasters struck.
With Tom, Loch, and Kathy in the cockpit, the Almazan is hit by a monster wave.
And it came right down on top of the boat and then rolled it upside down. And I know it was upside down because all the noise that we had heard, just the storm racket, if you will, stopped. It was dead quiet. It was just still. And it kind of stunned me. And then I realized that we were upside down and in the water.
And so they're all underwater, and when the boat rights itself and comes back up, Tom and Loch can see each other, but they can't see Kathy. And they're hearing screaming, and they're hearing somebody shouting, "Help, help!" And then through the darkness, they realize she's out of the boat. And the only thing that kept her from being killed right then and there was the tether on her safety harness.
After pulling Kathy back into the cockpit, Tom and Loch go below and discover what looks like a fatal blow. One of the main cabin windows, 2 by 3 feet, is gone.
And when I got down into the cabin, the water was probably halfway up to my knees, and the water was coming in through that window. Tom then said, "Look, let's get the life raft out, inflated, and we'll have it ready in case we have to get into it, in case the boat does sink." It was quite clear that we were in serious trouble.
This is after that first knockdown.
Yeah, because the next one could have happened at any time.
Mm-hmm. Stunned by the turn of events, Tom and Loch prepare the life raft.
As soon as it inflated, the wind was so strong, it was as if you had a balloon. It just blew right off the boat. Completely blew off the boat. And how it stayed attached to the boat is beyond me, but it did.
Blown 15 feet away and connected by just a thin line, the raft is in danger of being ripped away. As Loch and Tom struggle to reel it in, Loch makes a fateful decision.
They've got it to within 5 feet of the boat. And in the process, Loch's thinking, this tether is going to break, we're going to lose our sole means of salvation. So he makes the decision he's going to dive into the life raft and have Ron throw him a heavier line before this tether goes.
Remarkably, in the pitching seas and in the dark, Locke lands in the life raft and reels himself towards the boat when disaster strikes again.
And the next thing I knew, it was dead quiet again. And another wave had come over the boat, flipped the life raft upside down and me out of it. I was underwater. And when I surfaced, the life raft was blowing away. I didn't find the boat immediately, but when I did, I was probably 15 or 20 feet away from the boat or more. And I started to go to swim to the boat, and then I heard a voice in the water, "Help, help, I'm over here." And I then turned and swam to the voice, and it was Tom.
Shocked, Ron, Chris, and Kathy, the least experienced sailors, are in the crippled Almazan, and the captain and first mate, Tom and Locke, are in the water watching the boat drift away.
We talked about this, Tom and I, at seminars, is that if you're washed over at night, chances of getting back on the boat are slim to none. And here we are in that same predicament, realizing the boat was going away and we were not going to get back on it. There was no way we were going to get back on it.
There was an emergency radio beacon on the boat, which was letting the Coast Guard know where the boat was, but there was almost no chance of finding Tom and Locke. And they are adrift at sea, and Tom and Locke fight to survive.
Every wave that avalanches on them buries them.
And Tom is struggling.
He wasn't speaking as clearly or nearly as much.
You can imagine the terror. Two men are in the water, struggling to stay alive as wave after wave crashes against them. And on the Almazan, 3 rookie sailors are all alone.